Good morning. Thank you for coming to join us today for this press conference with the family of Tanisha Anderson. We are here to talk about her death. We have with her members of her family and the family's attorney. And the way we're going to operate the press conference, I'm going to first introduce the family, then Attorney David Malik will come and talk to you, and you will hear from members of the family. Media having questions for the family or for Attorney Malik, please first identify yourself and we'll go from there. So I have with me Mrs. Cassandra Johnson, Tanisha's mom. Next to her are her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, Joe and Ruth. We have next to the grandparents, Jennifer Johnson, her sister, Tanisha's sister, Teresa Pratt, her sister-in-law. On this side, we have her uncles and her aunt and a dear family friend. This is Jonathan Anderson, Michael Anderson, Sherman Anderson, Andrew Kennard, and her aunt at the end, Reverend Jaquetta Wheeler. At this time, I'll turn it over to David Malik, the family's attorney.
Thank you. Tanisha Anderson died on November 12th, 2014. Her death was preventable. Force was used. Officers were called to her home, and they were called because she was in a mental health crisis. The first set of officers that arrived met with the family, and they managed the problem. They left. Tanisha continued to feel ill, and officers were called again. A different outcome with the second set of officers. Why? The second set of officers used force. The second set of officers handcuffed Tanisha. The second set of officers did not give her medical attention when she was on the ground. By the time EMS arrived, she had a slight pulse. By the time she got to the Cleveland Clinic, she had passed away. There's serious and significant issues raised by this case. And the issues are, how do we treat the mentally ill in Cleveland, Ohio, when you call the police? First of all, when 911 was called the first time, an ambulance was requested. An ambulance did not come. Officers came. Thank God that first set of officers managed the problem. There is crisis intervention training given to officers in Cleveland, but not all officers. Approximately 400 officers out of 1,500 officers receive crisis intervention training. We have more questions than answers. We want to know why all the officers don't receive training. We want to know how many mental health calls there are in a given year. How many are successfully handled? How many are not? The family has its own set of questions, and the family has done its own research. The family has looked to the National Alliance of Mental Health, NAMI, actually the National Alliance of Mental Illness, and they have found guidelines, and they want those guidelines to become part of the Cleveland Police Training Protocol. The Anderson family wants to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We have here various people who want to speak to you. I'm going to turn it over right now to the Uncle Mike, and he's going to talk to you about questions that he has and issues concerning him. And hopefully, by the time this case comes to closure, we will have changed some policies in the city of Cleveland with respect to officers when they make mental health calls. Mike? Before Mike starts, the family has asked me to just say about a brief word about the officers in New York. We want to offer our condolences to those officers, and we wish their families well.
Hi, my name is Mike Anderson. I am the uncle for Tanisha Anderson. I knew her as Nene. We understand. Those are the two words that come to me when this arrived. And I knew we were going to have a press conference. And I asked my God to give me some words of comfort for this press conference. And the words were, we understand. We understand how victims and families feel losing a loved one. You know, we understand that. We understand what happened in New York to the two slain officers and their families. We understand that. We feel for them also. We understand the Tamir Rice and the Michael Brown situations and their families and how everything is going with that. We understand. We are a loving family. With all the protesting and rallying and stuff going on, we could have partaken in that, but that's not who we are. That's not who we are. I think we may have take part in maybe one, something like that, but we're looking for something else here, looking for solutions. And again, I say we understand. Death has hit our family in a reverse way. Biologically, it's supposed to be old. That's something that we try to prepare for. Thank God I still have my parents. So we try to prepare for that. But when it's the other way, and we're bearing our babies, we're bearing our nieces and our nephews and our little kids, there's no preparation for that. Some of you guys might want to know why now? Why you come out now and do a press conference? Why not now? Now is a good time. Mm-hmm. Anytime we have would have picked would have been a good time, but now is a good time. Mm-hmm. Right. We could have rushed out, got all in the media, did all kind of things. That's not who we are. We are a family that's still in grieving process, deep grieving process. So how could you rush out in front of the media and partake in a whole lot of things when you're really hurting? Hurt people, be still. Hurt people, be still and get some help for themselves, whichever way that they should find that help. We understand. What we don't understand is why she was treated the way she was treated. That's what we don't understand. What we don't understand is why Tanisha was treated like a criminal. And the techniques that they say the police are trained to 400 out of the 1,500. Why come no one came to her aid? The first 911 call, the second 911 call, the second 911 call should have, the dispatcher should have alarmed them, alerted them what kind of call they were going to. What we don't understand is how can you let anybody lay on the ground like that for 20 minutes? All her business exposed. We don't understand that. We would think that maybe the police cruiser was supposed to have some kind of blanket or something in the trunk of their car in case of death. I've seen it all the time when something happens, they put something over someone. Well, here is a woman, a female, whose mother and daughter is looking out the window at this treatment. We don't understand that. There's a lot of questions that we have, and we need answers to them questions. It is so hard to do this press conference. It is very hard. I think everything I've done in my life, this has been one of the hardest, because we're looking for solutions. My thing for Tanisha will always be to advocate on behalf of mental illness and how serious it really is and how they should be treated. Um, I don't have a lot more to say right now, but I just want you guys to know that we understand. We finally feel something. We're connected. We're connected now. Not just as a family, we've been connected, but we're connected with the world now. As far as losing someone, we've never been through nothing like this before. We've lost our grandmothers and grandfathers and stuff like that, but when we lose one of the pillars, a strong pillar in our family, who was all about love and introduced love to me. I love you was her favorite words. Coming and going. From a little child, that was her favorite words. I love you, Uncle Mike. I love you too, Nene. And when you can love somebody by their nickname, that's real special. I love you, I love you. She taught us that. She taught us how to love each other. It is just too bad and too sad that she became the sacrificial lamb. But I believe in my heart that there will be a Tanisha law. I believe in my heart that this situation will be able to help people all around the world.
Yes.
And help families go get some help, because mental illness is just not for the consumer, it's for the whole, it trickles down to the whole family. It's more serious than just knowing what kind of medication they take or the side effects of it. Mental illness is real and it's serious, and they need respect.
Yes.
They need respect.
Yes.
It can go as far down to the nieces and nephews or the children of somebody who's mentally ill, whether they criminally. See, this doesn't make a difference whether or not Tanisha was a criminal or not. This is about a mental illness situation and how you treat people. Just imagine this. Imagine Anthony Sowell, mentally ill, death penalty. Imagine Eric Castro, hung himself, mentally ill. Okay. What if he had kids, nieces and nephews, brothers and sisters? They're the ones who are going to suffer from the mental illness. It's going to be a stigma on them all their lives because they are connected to someone who is mentally ill. We want to stop that. We want to stop that. It won't help. I think everybody who's dealing with it, the person who has mental illness and the families, get some help. Seek out support. Join a peer-to-peer group, social group. Do things. I've been a part of NAMI for 8 years now. And that's why it's so hard for me to understand the things that happened that night on November 12th, 2014. It is so hard for me to understand that. If you don't have training, just common sense will tell you, don't treat a female that way. Thank you.
Mental illness crosses all boundaries: rich, poor, white, black, suburbs, inner city. It affects us all. All of us either know somebody or have a mentally ill member in our family. It's life. It's the human condition. And when we call for help, that's what we expect. It's what we expect out of our police department. We don't expect the person that we're calling help for to end up being handcuffed, to end up lying on a cold ground, to end up not being attended. These are all the things that NAMI addresses. The goal, the training, it's about de-escalation. It's not about escalation. We need answers. We need the coroner to finish the coroner's report. We need the use of deadly force investigation team to complete its report. This family cannot get closure until these things are done, because the grieving process is going to be long. And those answers need to be provided for the grieving process. Now, Tanisha Anderson, she was not a mentally ill woman. She was a woman with a mental illness. And she was loved. And her sister is here to talk to you about what kind of woman she was. You need to understand why we're so emphatic. You need to understand why we're here. Jennifer?
This is very hard for me to do. It really is, because I never would have thought I would have to be standing in front of cameras talking about my sister. We supposed to be at home drinking coffee this morning, talking to each other. My sister she always solved problems. If I had an issue, she solved it. She looked after me as we were growing up. We walked to school together. She nurtured me. We always talked about me opening my restaurant up. That was my dream. My sister said, I'm going to be there every day to eat. That's what we talked about. We did things together. We shopped together. We were like, I don't like that outfit. Put that back on the rack. My sister used all 5 senses just to shop, and it would take her all day. I'm like, come on. Then we had in the store for 5 hours. But that's what made Nene Nene. Her laugh, you can hear it all across the room, and I'm not going to ever forget it. I hear her when I sleep. I hear her when I wake up in the mornings, and when I go to bed at night. My sister meant everything to me. Now, what am I going to do now? When I get married, my sister was supposed to stand beside me. Who's going to take that place? Who's going to help me now? She helped me raise 4 children from the day they was born. Things that I didn't know how to do, she helped me do. I'm going to miss my love. She was my life. My sister meant everything to me. And no one's going to know how much. Until it happens to you, you just don't see it coming. You just don't see it coming. That's all.
We're not going to talk about the case specifics in detail, but if you have a couple of questions, we'll try to field them.
David, do you know, what do we know about the qualifications of the legal police officers who responded in both cases? Do we know if any of them were trained with crisis intervention training?
So at this time, we don't. We do know that the officers, one group of officers was very young and on the job less than a year. We've made public records requests to the city. We all know the story about making public records requests to the city. We have not gotten an abundance of information, although we are told that it's forthcoming. I talked to Dr. Gilson, by the way. He believes the autopsy will be done this week. He told me he's meeting with Lieutenant Tim tomorrow from the Deadly Force Investigation Team. So hopefully we'll have that report as well. But at this time, it appears to us that the officers did not have NAMI training.
How would you describe the level of cooperation or interaction between the police department and the family in terms of providing answers? Have you been left largely, well, give me your assessment.
So here it is in a professional manner. When we went and requested information on our public records request, we requested for both appearances by the officers. what we got was a question, oh, there were two? So as far as we could tell, the law department wasn't even aware there were two calls to the home. So I would say that the cooperation is very, very minimal.
Is there any reason why, that you might know, that the autopsy is taking so long for the report getting back to us?
No, we don't, having handled these unfortunate types of things before, the toxicology studies usually take a long time. But one of the things that I think we need to do is we need to tell the coroner to step it up. Not take 6 weeks or 8 weeks. I mean, families need closure.
That's right.
So we want a couple of things. We want, hold on one second. We want some policy changes in the department so that everybody is trained in the NAMI guidelines. And the officers are apparently still working full-time. We want them on restrictive duty until we get some answers. I mean, either way, they should be on restrictive duty. And I don't know why they are working full-time. I mean, this is a death in custody. So,
But to follow up on that point, these officers were never removed from duty at all?
as far as we can tell, they were not. I want to thank everybody for being here. Again, the Anderson family wants to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. The Department of Justice has 58 pages on what's wrong. We want to be part of the collaborative. We want to be part of the effort to make things better. We're ready, we're willing, we're able. Bring us on board. Let's not have another death like this in Cleveland. Thank you. Yes.
Is there a reason why the officers' names cannot be exposed in this case? Because you got many cases in Cleveland, Ohio, whether they're young, old, child, or adult. I have seen cases where the police names were exposed. So is there a specific reason why?
Follow up on that, that's right.
Why?
Have the officers' names been released at all?
We have the report
Okay.
with the officers' names on it.
Okay.
We're not going to mention them today, but it's available for you to see.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Pastor Norris, Concord Baptist Church, let me just say to the family, we commend your strength in your grieving process. Have the family received an official apology from the mayor or the police department?
Not at all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Mom wants to say one thing.
I wasn't going to have anything to say, but now I think I will. My emotions are everywhere. When I think back on that day, and I'm still trying to figure out why the policeman wouldn't let me get to my daughter. They kept telling me I couldn't come down. I couldn't come down to get to her, and I don't understand why. I'm trying to figure out a whole lot of things from that day as to what happened and why it happened. And I'm having a real hard time. I think when any mother hears the cry of her child, asking you to help me, mommy, mommy, help me, help me. I can talk about it now without crying. When you hear that ringing in your head day in and day out. All through the night. You can't sleep. You can't eat. It's something I can't explain to anybody what's really happening in my mind about that day. And not just that, for her to lay out there the way she did for that long with no underwear on, exposed to the world. They didn't even cover her up. We had to get her a blanket out of the house and take it out there to her. Well, she just laid there like that. What kind of person does that to another human being? At least cover her up. She was just laying there, just laying there. I know they have a blanket in the car, the police car. All of them carry blankets. And why did it come with you can't touch her? You slammed her. So why you can't touch her now? See, before I wasn't angry, now I'm angry. I know how the steps go. When you grieve and then you get angry. I'm angry now.
Amen.
When I think about how my daughter was treated. When I lay down at night, that's all I see. That's all I hear. Her crying out for me, Mommy! That's all I hear day in and day out. Even while I'm talking, it's in my mind. Then, if they didn't have any training, you don't treat anybody like that. Whether you have training or not, they're a human being.
Justice for Tanisha Anderson. 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 No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace.
We'd like to thank you for coming, and we'd also like to thank Reverend A.L. Owens, the pastor here at Second Ebenezer Church, for opening his doors to us today. Go in peace. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the media for coming out. We'd like to thank the media for respecting that we're still in deep grieving here. Didn't fire any disrespectful questions to us or make it too difficult for us to do this press conference. We really appreciate it.